Hey, everybody. This is Talking Movies with Sean and Kenny, and we are live with our guest, Branden from Cinefessions.
Hey,
I'm
guys.
Sean. That's Kenny.
Welcome, hi.
And Branden,
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
you're very welcome. We're honored to have you here.
Very much so.
And
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we have a special topic tonight that is near and dear to Kenny's heart. And we're told that it is near and dear to your heart as well.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
is the film work of the Asylum and their work doing mockbusters and other stuff of somewhat dubious quality. But so we'll get into that. And but first, Branden, tell us a little bit about yourself and your channel and how you got into this mess.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I'm over at the Cinefessions channel here on YouTube. Just recently started watching your videos, Sean, and really enjoying that. Kenny, relatively recently, a little bit longer, but love what you guys do over there. What I do is very similar in terms of, just sharing what I'm picking up, things like that, doing movie reviews, dabbling in vlogs, things like that. But all things media is kind of my tagline. So movies, mostly movies, but I'll talk books, video games every once in a while. So yeah, just, I love the world of media in general, mostly physical media. So just love sharing my passion online. I was just talking before we started, I've been, writing about film online for 12, 13 years now. So the channel's been around since 2020 and just been having fun trying to grow it the best I can. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing outside of this podcast here. So you can find me over at Cinefessions if you want to see more of that.
Awesome. Excellent. All right. And Kenny, what got you into the Asylum?
The Asylum, when I first got a hold of them, they were on Sci-Fi Channel on Saturday afternoons. So usually Saturday afternoons is kind of like a dull, lull period, So if you didn't have anything to watch, there wasn't anything on Food Network or something, you always went to Sci-Fi Channel, okay? And I went and my first one that I seen was a Lorenzo Lamas led, and the only reason why I used to watch it with my mom and she used to get a kick out. The only reason why she watched it was because he was on Falcon Crest, which was a soap opera that we watched in the 80s, okay?
Right.
And she goes, "Oh, that's the guy from Falcon Crest." And then that proceeded like a half an hour talking about Falcon Crest when I try to watch the movie, So basically, I started watching them, and then they, when I was going on the guide, because remember the on-screen guides. This was before all that, and then you could go on there, and they used to have them on Saturday nights, late Saturday nights. So it was oh, okay. So after Saturday Night Live, I'll just put that on. And I used to fall asleep to watching them. And I just thought they were just I keep on telling Sean, they're basically soap opera actors that get C or D stars. A lot of them had Tom Sizemore in it. Eric Roberts, who I like. I've always liked Eric Roberts. And then Carl Weathers is in them. Anthony Sabato Jr., Tretch from Naughty by Nature is in some of them. And of course,
Yep.
Danny Trejo's in some of them, especially the shark ones, like the 8-headed shark attacks and stuff like that. I just think they're fun. It's especially if you're watching on a Saturday or something like that, you can just put it on. Your head's like mine, just open just for something fun,
Right.
That's how I got into watching them.
Okay. And for those of you who don't know what the Asylum is, I've got the ever reliable Wikipedia's definition of the Asylum, which is the Asylum is an American independent film company and distributor that focuses on producing low-budget direct-to-video films. The company has produced titles that capitalize on productions by major studios, often using film titles and scripts very similar to those of current blockbusters in order to lure customers. And these titles have been dubbed mockbusters by the press. So they're famous for like Transformers. They made Transmorphers, which was the one that always comes to mind when I think of mockbusters, which is strangely enough, I haven't seen.
It's good.
That's the one I've been wanting to see that for the longest time. And I said, you know what? I'm doing this podcast tonight. I watched it last night, finally.
Awesome.
After all these years. So yeah, it's a trip. It's not one that I would necessarily recommend, but it is, it's fun. It's a weird one.
It's fun. I mean,
yeah,
they're not going to win any Best Picture awards, but you can tell. The company was founded in 1997 by David Latt, Sherry Strain, and Ramondi, David Ramondi, and David Latt still produces them. He used to direct a lot of them in the early days, but he produces like basically all of them. Usually the projected budgets on these they're not cheap. I mean, they're between 250 and 500K, for a budget on these movies. And
which
a lot of
nowadays
them are
is nothing compared to a Hollywood blockbuster nowadays, but relatively speaking.
And basically just what they do is I don't know how their permits work, but it usually, like, if you notice, like, especially like with like Branden, I think picked this one up at the last Hamilton book, not a sponsor yet. Tomb Invader.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch Tomb Invader, there's been 3 other movies that were filmed in the same location that I've pointed out, which was also Planet Dune, which I love Planet Dune with Sean Young.
Yeah.
I've always had a major crush on Sean Young. And the Alan Quartermain Lost Gold series. Those were all filmed in the same places, and you can see. And what cracks me up about that, they're supposed to be like in space and stuff, and you can see the outlet of the palm trees, like in the back, in the background. So I mean, it's like very tongue in cheek, and they're I just enjoy them. I have a good time with them.
Yeah.
Sean,
go ahead.
I was going to say I ruined your intro. I didn't answer how I got into the Asylum. So I can do that real quick.
Yeah.
I worked for Family Video back when that was still a company. After I got out of grad school, I was trying to find work and ended up stumbling into that and became a manager at a couple stores there. So that's where I first learned about the Asylum. I think Age of the Hobbits is one of them that really stood out to me, which has a different name now because, of course, they got sued for Age of the Hobbits name. And so it has a different title now. But because of that, I remember, putting them on the shelf and just wondering, like, what the heck is this? And so that's when I really started looking into them. And that was around 2012, 2013 ish. That's my first memories of the Asylum anyway. And so from there is when I really started, trying to see what else they had and doing research on them on my website. When Cinefessions was just a website, we used to do April in the Asylum, where we would all review movies from the Asylum, me and my 2 buddies who wrote on there. So that's how I ended up stumbling into the Asylum, and it just have been, watching them since then.
Nice. Oh, I didn't want to ignore our comment chat people. We've got D from the Movie Bay. We've got Mike.
Hey, D.
And
Hey,
Patrick from Have Cheetah Will View have all dropped in. So thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Patrick said that Age of Nobbits is the new name, or so he heard. So
Could be it.
I don't know about that one, but we'll check it out. But I don't even know I think I'm like Kenny. The first time I discovered the Asylum was on Sci-Fi when they were on Saturday nights. And I think I was watching some alligator movie. I don't even know what it was. And it was, horrible CGI. I was over a friend's house, so I didn't have control of the remote and I couldn't look on the guide. So I was like, what the hell is this? This is terrible, but it's awesome. And I went back and looked and finally found out what it was. But I went on IMDb and saw that it was made by the Asylum. And then I went to Best Buy back in the good old days when they still carried physical media.
Yeah.
And I saw more films with very similar titles to a lot of like big blockbuster movies. The first one that I remember seeing that was specifically The Asylum was Abraham Lincoln versus Zombies.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. Seriously? What is this? And I turned it on the back and The Asylum. I'm like, oh, okay. All right, cool. And then watching just other things on Sci-Fi. And I don't think I've ever purposely bought an Asylum movie, but I will watch the hell out of them on Tubi or on what else are they? If they're on Sci-Fi, I can't think of what else I've seen them on.
They have a channel on.
That's
if
it.
you get like Roku or something like that.
Yeah.
They have the Asylum channel.
Pluto TV has it.
Yeah, Pluto TV. That's it. And I'll watch the hell out of that because when I was down in Florida, I watched it with my uncle. My uncle's like, "What the hell are you watching?" You know?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
and that's usually what I'll do. I'll just put the Asylum channel on right in the middle of whatever the hell is playing, and I'll just watch like the tail end of a movie and just laugh because it doesn't matter where you jump in, you know, you can figure out what's happening. One of the things you said, Brandon, or no, I'm sorry, Kenny, about reusing the sets. I can guarantee you American Battleship probably used the same set that they used on Megalodon.
oh, absolutely.
That battleship that's a tourist attraction that's all painted over with the chipped paint with the blue paint on it. That's a World War II battleship.
USS Iowa.
Yeah. Yeah, Patrick says their CGI is always cheesy. And
It is. With Transmorphers yesterday, I think one of my notes was that it looked like it was straight out of like Xbox and PS2 era graphics. That's kind of what the CGI looked like from that one. So yeah, cheesy is definitely true.
Right. When was Transmorphers made? Was that 2007?
I think.
7? Okay.
Yeah.
Because that was when the original Transformers came out.
Yeah, and then there's a sequel, Transmorphers: Rise of Something, which came out a year or two later, and then I think it was just last year, 2023. I think there's actually a third one in the series, so I have to see the second one now because I'm super interested. There it is. Yes, I have to see that. That sounds awesome.
And you can't go wrong because it has Tom Arnold in it. So
nice. I didn't know that.
Man, Tom Cruise, Tom Arnold, man, you're just like pulling them. You know,
they're one and the same.
Bound is the I have Cheetah. Have you noted that Bound? That was the 50 Shades, I think, 50 Shades of Grey mockbuster, if I'm not mistaken. And that one stars, is it Charisma
Shannon
Carpenter?
Elizabeth? Oh yeah, Charisma Carpenter. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
from Buffy. So I've not seen that. It's in my collection, I believe, but I've not watched that one yet. So I have to check that one out still.
It was funny. On Brandon's latest video, he picked up a 3-pack, and I've seen all 3 of those movies.
Did you? That's awesome.
The best one is the one with Big Sexy Kevin Nash.
Yes.
The Thor movie.
It's so bad. It's great.
I'm so excited for that.
I was like laughing through it, and of course, anything with Tracy Lords, I will watch. You know, because I've always liked her. You know, since I was a kid. Well, and she was a kid too. I did not know that.
Oh,
yeah, I've heard that one was pretty good, so I got to check that out.
Yeah, we're going to put that one on the watch list.
Yeah.
The one that I saw that was an attempt at an original film, and I always give them credit because if they would just make original films or try more of them, I think they actually could pull it off better. And the only one that I've seen that is an attempt at an original film is Battle Dogs.
Oh my gosh.
Have you seen that one?
Yes. That was kind of my penultimate suggestion here.
Yeah.
I loved Battle Dogs.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it wasn't great, but you know, it came close to being average.
Yeah, that's one where if you can look past the CGI, because the CGI it's not going to be great, right? It is what it is. But if you can look past that, which I think we're all kind of in the same boat. We've seen so many bad movies that
Oh yeah.
I can look past the CGI, right?
Right.
It is what it is. But yeah, that one to me was, I did a like 13 Days of Halloween few years ago now. And that was my favorite of the 13 films I watched that year. I think it's really good. It has, what's it? Well, the guy's name he's in One Tree Hill. Craig Schaefer is in that one. He's in a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
I know him best from One Tree Hill. You guys know him from other things, I'm sure. But and then the little girl from Jurassic Park is in that one as well. Ariana Richards. I thought she was great in that. I love those
she was
two
good
together. Yeah,
I
the
just
state guy is in there. Like it has such a good cast on that one. Just like random people.
Dennis Haysbert.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Bill
Bill
Duke.
Duke. Ernie Hudson. Yes. It's a good one. That one I highly recommend. It's the story of basically these. The movie opens with almost what feels like a zombie attack opening, like a zombie outbreak opening, but it's werewolves. And then, of course, the government is going to try to weaponize that in some way. And so that's where we get these titular battle dogs. But it is so fun. It eventually gets into like an outbreak in Manhattan setting, which they can do so much with given their budget. But I think that's a good one. I think that one, it's the acting that takes it above for me, because I think Craig Schaefer in the lead role is just excellent. So highly recommend Battle Dogs if you guys haven't seen that one.
And it's available on Tubi, kids.
Sure
there you
is.
Go.
Yep.
Not a sponsor yet.
Not a sponsor yet.
Another spot to look for Asylum films. I don't know if you guys are aware of Hoopla. Yeah, it's a service you can sign up for free through your library. And you can get however many your library allows. I think I can get like a dozen free rentals every month. And if I can't find it on Tubi, or I don't want to watch it with ads, I can go to Hoopla. And it's almost always on one of those two platforms. So definitely a good resource if you guys are, signed up for Hoopla, which is free if you have a library card. So definitely recommend checking that out too.
And we would be remiss if we don't mention Sharknado.
Oh yeah. This is, I do have the complete collection here that came out sometime last year.
Wow.
I think it was the 6 films across here. These don't even have like a menu, if I remember right. Like it's 6 films on 2 discs, and it just, I think the menu is you pick movie, whichever movie you want, and that's it. So very bare bones, but super cheap when it came out. I have no idea if it's still in print. I'm not sure. I didn't look that up before filming, but it's a worthwhile pickup if you are a fan of the Sharknado films, which just from what I hear, I've only seen the original. I've seen the original 2 or 3 times now, but I've not yet continued on. So I do have to do that, but I heard they just get more and more ridiculous. So if you like the first one, you're probably going to enjoy what else they have. So
yeah, I've seen the first 2. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've seen the first one and the one with Chris. I'm a big wrestling fan too, so
yes,
and Chris Jericho.
Oh, which one is he? Oh, I forgot he was in one of those.
I think he's in 4.
That's awesome. I have to see that now.
So that was the only one. Those are the only 2 that I've seen. But they did like huge ratings when that was on Sci-Fi. I mean, they were like really doing. I mean, they were beating like TBS USA some nights, especially when they premiered it, because they really premiered, really threw a lot of advertisement, towards those,
Yeah, Sharknado's what put them on the map a little bit, so people, know what Asylum is thanks to Sharknado a lot of times.
Right. Yeah. Victor asked, and then Patrick answered. I don't know if you know the answer, Branden. Patrick says that Sci-Fi does not release original films anymore, probably from a budgetary standpoint, because I don't think Sci-Fi does much original programming anymore. But they apparently don't have a relationship with the Asylum anymore.
I'll assume he's right. I don't have cable. I use YouTube TV to watch sports and wrestling, and that's about it. So I don't really know what Sci-Fi plays anymore. So
I don't watch Sci-Fi. It just is like falling off my radar, because every time I turn it on, it's not. I watch Comet more than Sci-Fi, and
yeah, Comet's a good channel. That's really good.
And it's just regurgitating stuff from the past. So
Right.
So what does that tell you? Yeah, I was going to say about Sharknado. My wife knows what Sharknado is and wanted to watch it. So if that tells you anything about the mainstream barometer of things, you know, my wife is not into any of that stuff.
Yeah, I think when the original came out, I was in grad school, and it was an event amongst my classmates and I. It was a big night, and it was a lot of fun to watch. But
yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
I was gonna say one other movie. Oh, my brain just totally went blank.
While you're trying to think, Sean, I was trying to think. They had a movie, and this came out like about 5 or 6 years ago, and it was like available at Dollar Tree because it had the everybody was going for it because it was a steel book. Wolfbane. I don't know if that was I know it was a sci-fi original movie. It had like one of the London brothers. I can't remember if it was the London brother from Mallrats or not. But what happened was Sci-Fi. It was a Sci-Fi channel. I don't know if that was an original. I think it was an original movie, but I don't know if Asylum picked them up. And what happened was it was a failed TV because they were trying to build on like Planet Z and Van Helsing, on that channel. And they made a good movie. The movie was actually pretty good. I mean, to get it at the Dollar Tree. But that was supposed to be just like a failed TV pilot that never went through, and they turned into a movie.
I didn't realize that. I'll let Sean fact check, but I'm fairly certain Wolfsbane was not Asylum. But you're right about it. I remember it. That's where I got it, was the Dollar Tree on Steelbook. And honestly, it might have been one that I purged from my collection because I didn't hear anything about it. But now I'm a little mad at myself because you're talking about it now. But that one looked interesting, and I had no idea that was a pilot attempt. That's very cool to know.
Yeah, that was actually good because I can't remember if it was Jason or I forget the other guy's London brother. Jason's the only one Jason was the one in Mallrats, I believe, because he was in Dazed and Confused.
Okay,
but this was like early 2000s.
I'm trying to find it.
That Wolfbane. Because the girl in there I thought was really smoking hot too. I don't remember her name.
I'm terrible with names.
I am too, awful. And it's like I'll just like look at them, and like when my mom was here, she would go, "Come on, Ken, you know that guy that was in that movie from that,
that guy that was in that thing that was in there."
Yeah, and it's like she was always like the familiar face kind of thing, So, but
Yancey Butler, is that who you're?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I know who that is.
Thank you, Patrick. Jeremy London.
Jeremy London. Oh, okay.
Yancey Butler. She was in Man in the Machine. That's where I liked her from. There was a TV show called Man in the Machine, and then she went and did the Van Damme movie, The Hard Target. It was either Hard Target or Maximum Risk. No, Maximum Risk was with Natasha Henstridge from Species. She did that, and then it was going to be, man, sky's the limit for this girl. And then apparently she got attached to a 6-pack of beer and started drinking.
Are you talking about Witchblade?
No.
Okay. Oh, Wolfsbane. There it is.
Wolfsbane. I'm sorry.
No. It's fine. Okay, now I know what you're talking about. No, that's not the Asylum.
Oh, okay. Sorry. We took 15 minutes of people's time up, and it wasn't
That's okay. That's okay.
I learned something, Kenny, so it was worthwhile.
Okay.
No, that's totally fine. It's a movie. It's fine.
That's right. Yeah, I know someone talked about Z Nation, the TV series from the Asylum. Of course, because Walking Dead was so popular, they had to make their own zombie series. And I want to say I watched maybe like the first half of the first season of that, and I enjoyed it. I just like TV series. It takes a while to get into them and then go back to them. So I didn't end up going back to it, but that one I think ran for something like 5 seasons. I have it in my notes, but I can't find it right now. It ran for a while, and then it ended up having a Netflix spinoff as well for 2 seasons. So it did well for what it was. I guess Asylum just decided it was too expensive per episode, so they decided to scrap it. But it's interesting look at them getting into the TV world. I thought that's pretty cool.
You were talking about Yancey Butler. Another Asylum movie that she was in was Shark Week.
Okay.
The one where they're taken to that island.
Yep.
I remember. Yes.
Yeah, that
I've
one.
seen that one. Yeah.
Patrick Bergen is in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a guy who was going to have a big career too.
Yeah.
Sleeping with the Enemy.
Yep.
That was a huge movie, Brandon, when that came out with Julia Roberts.
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Okay.
that was like super. Yeah, and he was like the next big thing, and I don't know what really happened to him. It's a shame these guys get, sidetracked with stuff.
He had a Robin Hood movie that came out around the same time as the Kevin Costner one too.
Oh yeah.
That sort of got swept under the rug because it didn't do very well, or it was kind of overshadowed by the Costner one.
Yeah, it's funny how these guys get stereotyped too. Not talking about the Asylum, but it's like I watched a interview with Robert Patrick. He was on the guy, Michael. Oh my God, he played Lex Luthor on Smallville. He's got a very good podcast that I listen to. And Robert Patrick said he couldn't get work for 5 years after Terminator 2 because he was typecast. All his agent wanted him to do was like bad roles and stuff like that. And he said that. Thank you, Victor. I knew it was Michael, but I couldn't just But he's got a excuse me. He's got a very good podcast, and he said he couldn't get work for 5 years after that. And plus, he's unfortunately he got hooked up with the rock and roll lifestyle. He said he was doing drugs and drinking all the time too. So that kind of didn't lend himself good to agents. So
yeah, no, that's what the Asylum can do. They can come in and help people out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, you
Get
need to
that
check.
payday. Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, look, another prime example is Tom Sizemore.
Yeah.
I mean, Tom Sizemore has been in, I counted 17 Asylum movies.
Wow.
And his last one, I told Sean, his eyes were, he was so bloated and like his eyes were, and he talked like really fast. And it was called Bullet Train Down Under.
Okay.
Bullet Train Down. That's it.
I picked that one up recently. I have to watch that one yet.
Brandon, he talks so fast, and he's always sweating, and he always has a coffee cup in his hand. So, which led me to believe that he wasn't a reformed alcoholic.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he never, if every scene he had a cup in his hand. So, but that one was pretty good too. Bullet Train Down.
If I'm not mistaken, Tom Sizemore is a Wayne State University grad, which is where I went to undergrad. Him and oh my gosh, I'm gonna forget his name. The guy from Arrested Development.
Will Arnett?
No, I'm gonna forget. I'll remember it as we go on here. But yeah, those were like the two claims to fame for my undergrad down Wayne State. It's in Detroit, and went to the theater program there. They went through that as well. So that's my only like little bit I know about Tom Sizemore outside of what he's done in the acting world. But
right. Yeah.
Another one with Tom Sizemore is before he was just coming up, and he did Striking Distance with Bruce Willis.
Okay.
And I had just watched Bullet Train Down, and then I had just got Striking Distance, and I hadn't seen this in years. And it was like, man, young, thin, good-looking kid, and I'm just like, dude, what the hell happened? You know? And I'm just thinking to myself, Hollywood.
Yeah,
Hollywood
exactly.
must have-
Alcohol,
it-
yeah, drugs.
Yeah, I mean, man, it's a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
we
that's
were-
something that.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Sean. I was gonna say
No,
that's
go
something I
ahead.
like about Asylum as well. It's these actors that might not be getting big Hollywood movies, but at least they're getting a paycheck, right? And I don't know all the time, but a lot of the time from the ones I've seen, they're putting in the effort at least.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not just the actors, right? This whole crew that they've hired to make this film. So it's people making a living, being creative in the film industry. So power to them. Like, I know people always hate on the Asylum, but I can't because of that
Yeah.
reason. It's so hard to make it, you know, as a working actor or behind the scenes crew. And they're giving people jobs, you know, and doing it in what seems to be an honest way. So it's just another reason, another, you know, check mark for Asylum in my book.
Yeah. So one of the things we were talking before we went on the air, one of the things that attracts me to the Asylum is that I am an aficionado of just bad movies in general. Usually intentionally, not intentionally bad movies, but movies that are unintentionally bad.
Mm-hmm.
The Asylum, I don't know that they're intentionally bad. Maybe they are, but there's a documentary that was on Shudder last summer called Sharksploitation, which talks about, you know, all the shark movies that just before Jaws and then after Jaws. And of course they talked about Sharknado. And one of the things that they were talking about is how the Asylum writes a title first and then they create the movie. So essentially they're making a bad movie intentionally. But I still love their movies because of that, because they are creating a product that is a full-blown product with a budget, a script, actors, named actors, and it tells a story, sometimes better than unintentionally bad movies. But I still love them anyway. What is the attraction to you, Branden, for to the Asylum's films? Like, what is the pull for you?
Yeah, and I it's a great question. I don't know that I have a great answer, but I also enjoy watching bad movies. A lot of the time, it's individual. So on my channel, I've reviewed every release from a company called Visual Vengeance, who is releasing just, you know, films that a lot of people just wouldn't have any interest in because they're generally really bad. A lot of them are going to be old shot on video films from the 80s and 90s. And I've had a good time with virtually all of them because you can see the passion behind what these filmmakers are doing. And, you know, as someone who grew up, you know, I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in acting, but obviously I'm not an actor now, right? I work in the banking world now. So it's just something completely different now, but I still love that. And I see these actors on screen giving everything they can, right? Kind of going back to your point, if they, you know, even if the producers are maybe marketing teams setting out to make an intentionally bad movie, the actor's face is still on screen.
Right.
They're going to give it their all. They're going to try to do their best. Now, some people just have the talent and have the ability to do that. Others don't, but they're still, it's a person trying their best to do what they think is right. And I think that passion is what really draws me to bad movies, especially when you look at, which not to take it away from the Asylum here, but just talk about Visual Vengeance a little bit with those.
Yeah.
These are people who are able to do these feature length films with virtually with no money. And it's literally for the love of what they're doing. And I mean, that's just awesome to watch. That passion comes through on camera, I think. And that's what makes it enjoyable. It almost gives the film a little bit of charisma. And when you have charisma, Kenny is a pro wrestling fan. When you have charisma, you just can't look away from them. Right.
Right.
And so I feel like that's a little bit of it. It's just, I love the passion behind these films, and you might not always see it with something like Asylum because it is it's a company, right? It's a big business,
Right.
and whatnot. But there's still something there with these actors that, you know, it looks like they're having a good time or not. Maybe sometimes with Tom Sizemore, I'm not sure. So I don't, like I said, I don't have a great answer for you, but there's something about bad movies that just pulls me in. And not to talk too much here, but I was thinking about this before. You guys have seen way more movies than I have, I'm sure. A lot more classics than I have, probably. And I think, like, I was working through some of what I call my 12 most embarrassing movie blind spots. I'm working through those this year. And, I sit down and I've seen dozens of Asylum films, but I haven't seen The Lord of the Rings yet, as I sit here tonight. Like, I've wasted my time watching these movies, yet there are classic movies I haven't seen. And it's like, why do I do that? Is there something wrong in my head that makes me do that? So
I don't think it's not necessarily you're wasting your time. It's just basically you're entertained by this, and you don't know what the Lord of the Rings, trilogy is going to bring you. You know what I mean? It's like, I think I've watched 3 Harry Potter movies. Okay. I watched, and so it's like, I know they're good, and they're complex characters, but I'll rather watch Top Gunner, or Top Gunner Danger Zone, rather than getting into that. Because it was funny, because one of my friends from church, he was saying him and his grandkids are rewatching the Lord of the Rings movies. But see, with the problem that I have with the Lord of the Rings movies, those names are not like Larry and Bud, and it's like it's like Hyacinth or Felona or something like that. And it's like, I just can't keep those names straight. At least when I'm watching Top Gunner, by the Asylum, it's like Larry, Reggie, Sarah. I know those names. And it's like, I don't know. And it's like, I don't think that it's not that it's a blind spot for you. I think it's a comfort zone. It's like the unknown. You're going over here to an unknown movie. At least you know what you're going to get with the Asylum. You're going to get an hour and 32 minutes of fun.
Exactly.
Or the Vengeance series. They're doing it for heart. This is like all art. The Lord of the Rings stuff. They're good, mind you. I've seen them all, but I don't think you're wrong, it's not a blind spot. I just think it's a comfort zone.
Yeah, that's a good point. Right. Yeah.
Hey, Jim. Jim's got a comment.
Hey, Jim.
Said he did the same thing with the Corman Factory movies. A lot of crap, but a lot of gems as well, So, yeah, I think we all have our blind spots. There are a lot of I watched The French Connection for the first time over the weekend. It's a movie.
I still have to see that.
Yeah, it's considered a classic. I think I saw it when I was maybe 5 years old, like something you really want to watch when you're 5 years old. I don't remember it. It was wasted on me, but I could say I saw it, but I don't remember anything from it. But now I could appreciate it. But that was a blind spot. But I've seen both versions of Godzilla, the Japanese and the American version, I don't know, 25 times.
Right. Yeah. I know I've watched through the Harry Potter films more times, 3 or 4 times each. I love those. Like you said, Godzilla 2014, seen that a million times too. Like the original I've seen. So yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. So
just a quick shout out to Jim. He was excellent last week on the show. So
yes,
great,
he was.
Great hearing his thoughts. He was encyclopedic. So this is a step down for you guys in terms of your guests, but Jim was awesome. So it was great to see him.
And if you haven't watched his drive-in memories videos, I highly recommend those.
I need to check that out. Yeah.
Tremendous.
I've never been, he was talking about the drive-in last week. I've never been to a drive-in movie in my life yet, which I have to correct. I have to take my kids. I think my daughter in particular get a kick out of that, but
yeah, I think the charm is lost now because you're not putting a speaker in your window,
Oh no. Okay.
Because I know Katie that we do a podcast with, her and her boyfriend go, and you just turn it to a like a channel like that's on your radio, like 88.7 or something on your, but the charm of it back then was to put a big speaker, while you're laying on top of the, the Country Squire station wagon, with your brother on top, and you hear rustling and you hear mom going, "What are you idiots doing up there?" And a lot of the drive-in movies that we went to see, because we had brought this up with Jim, were like these are like really past due, are Disney classics like Hot Lead and Cold Feet, Gus, Apple Dumpling Gang. I remember, so it was just like Disney was like very popular in the 70s at like drive-in theaters. and watching Jim's channel, I see there was like a lot of other ones that I must have missed when I was 6. You know.
Yeah.
I always have to get a hamburger at the drive-in because there's just something about a drive-in movie hamburger that that just brings back memories of my childhood. That's not to say that they're good, because they're terrible. But
that's why you like them. That's part of the charm.
Right, exactly. It's just the nostalgia of it.
Well, it's like going to a baseball game. You always have to have a hot dog.
Yep.
No matter what you're doing, you have to have a hot dog. You know.
Yeah.
Hey, Steve. Yeah, I know, Jim. I don't want to know. Don't ruin it for me. I can only I worked at enough movie theaters. I can only imagine what's in the hamburgers at a drive-in. So.
Yeah, and I was a chef, so never send anything back in the kitchen.
Oh, I
trust.
Oh man,
trust me on
Waiting. That. It just reminds me of Waiting.
Yeah,
one of my favorite comedies. I love that movie.
Basically, it's kind of over, but like, oh yeah, the steak's not good enough. You know, okay. You know, we didn't get to that point. You know, but it was just like they would just like put it back on there and just like forget about it, and then 10 minutes later, the waitress would come in and go, "Did you get that steak? Oh yeah, here it is." You know, pop it on the plate. You know.
Oh man.
Yeah, I worked in enough retail and service positions that I don't. You know the. You don't want to know the behind the scenes stories. And my wife, I don't want to, say anything bad about her, but sometimes she's a little high maintenance when she goes out to like a service place and she'll like, "Oh, I don't like the food. I want to send this back." I'm thinking, nope, don't do that.
Oh. Yeah.
That's true, Jim.
We'll see you, Patrick.
See you, Patrick. Thank you for stopping by.
Yep. Oh man. Oh, got kind of off topic, but that was okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll circle back around to the Asylum real quick. So one thing I know, we talked a lot about the mockbusters, and those are fun. Those are kind of marketable things, right? But for me, because I was looking through, I was talking about this earlier before we started filming. I have a terrible memory, but fortunately, a lot of my stuff is online, so I was able to go back and see what I've spent time with in the past. And the vast majority of the stuff I've seen from the Asylum has been their horror films, the low budget horror films. That's really my genre, right? Is horror. I love horror. And so I'm always drawn to those in particular. And so, trying to just write down some of my favorites as we go through. I've noticed that a lot of them are going to be from kind of the era where they were doing more producing than creating their own films or creating mockbusters and whatnot.
Sure.
And the first one, and I think it was really the first movie I saw from the Asylum, and why I always say Paranormal Entity is what I'm talking about. That's the reason I always give the Asylum a shot, because for my money, Paranormal Entity, which I do have here, this movie, to me, I enjoy this more than I like Paranormal Activity. Obviously, this is a mockbuster of Paranormal Activity, so I'm kind of saying I'm not talking mockbusters, but this is. But this, to me, I think it's creepier. I think the ending is better than Paranormal Activity. It's obviously the same setup as you're going to get with Paranormal Activity, with a individual trying to spot Paranormal Activity in their home. But this one, I think it just does it a little bit better. And full disclosure, I'm just not the biggest fan of the original Paranormal Activity. I love the sequels. 2 and 3 in particular, I think, are fantastic. But the first time I watched this one, it just hit me in all the right ways. I was like, yes, this is awesome. You have a lot, you can see a lot of it's done in green, right? Like you would expect from something like this. And I think it's just so much fun to get through. I watched it again just a couple years ago, and I still really enjoyed it. And I still would put it above Paranormal Activity. I know I'm in the minority. Most people will like PA better than Entity, but for me, that's one of the ones I always try to recommend. That one and Battle Dogs, I think, are two that if you only have a negative opinion of the Asylum, those are the two I would point to give a shot with. If you're a found footage fan, which I'm a big found footage fan. So a number of the movies I have sitting next to me or that I'll talk about are related to found footage, but it's cheap. It's relatively easy to do compared to like a traditional horror film or traditional film. So it makes sense that they do quite a number of those.
Right.
So that's one. I think that was my first real taste of the Asylum, actually watching, was Paranormal Entity. So that's why I'll always give them a shot. And I'll always give remakes a shot because of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake from 2003. I'm a little bit younger. Like 2003 was my era. I graduated in 2004. So that torture era of horror movies is my jam. I love that growing up. And so that's, Paranormal Entity, I always think along the sides of TCM. I always give other movies of this ilk a chance because I like this one so much. So I definitely recommend checking out Paranormal Entity if you guys haven't seen that one.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one, so I will definitely check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always like I was saying earlier with Battle Dogs, I always thought that if the Asylum just stuck to an original format and didn't concentrate on mockbusters and then just went and did an original format or original concept, I should say, and just tried to make something of their own, concept first before title. We'll see you, Steve.
See you, Steve.
Take care.
I think they could knock out something approaching great, every once in a while. But I also know that there wouldn't be the same appeal because they want to get that hook, and they're all about cashing the checks. So
right. And it's interesting because the whole reason they decided that this mockbuster thing was the right thing to do is because when the War of the Worlds remake was coming out, the Spielberg version, they ended up doing H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. I hope I'm talking about the right one here. Yeah. H.G. Wells. Yeah. And Blockbuster ended up buying like 100,000 copies, which was like, 5 times or 10 times what they would normally buy. So that's when they realized, oh, there's a market here. Like, Blockbuster wants this. So now I don't know how that model still works because obviously Blockbuster's not around. Family Video is not around because we used to always get copies of the Asylum films in when I worked at Family Video. So I don't know how that model works. I don't know. Tubi, obviously, Pluto TV, that streaming model must work for them. Otherwise they wouldn't still do it. But it's interesting. I'd love to know more about the kind of the behind the scenes finances of how this company has done what they've done for so long and how they continue to do it.
I know they did. I'm sorry, Sean. I know they did they were in with Prime Video, with Amazon Prime.
Okay.
Because a lot of theirs, like they had announced that they were like going to not on their Instagram, but I think it was on Twitter when, before X, it was Twitter. And I remember that you could see like exclusively on Prime, like streaming on Prime.
Okay.
Or you could buy it for $1.99. So go ahead, Sean. I'm sorry.
No, that's kind of what I was going to say, except not specifically to Amazon Prime. I think it would be, if somebody's flipping around on Vudu or Amazon Prime, and like the one we're going to talk about in a little bit here called the Twisters. Their knockoff of Twisters. If somebody is scrolling through Vudu or Prime Video or whatever looking for Twisters, and they see the Twisters and they don't recognize it or they don't realize it, and they click rent for $4.99, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm getting Twisters. And then they don't realize, oh, this isn't the right one. Well, they've already spent their $5 and they'll just sit there and watch it and go, well, this movie's shit, but I paid for it. So
exactly.
Anyway. So, the money's been spent. I might as well watch it. So I don't know. It seems like a really kind of tenuous business model to build a company around, but it appears to be working.
Yeah, part of my research I did, they made this was in 2012. They made a profit of $15 million in 2012.
Wow.
And their budgets are between $250 and $500K. And usually a movie takes 4 to 6 months to complete. And they do between 10 to 15 pages a day. So they might have I think the longest shoot was 2 weeks, but they also what they do is they are kings of CGI.
Mhm.
So it might take them. They might have like 4 movies wrapped up in a month or a month and a half, but they go back and do the CGI. You
And I
know,
think they do
Well,
CGI in-house now, right, Kenny?
yes, they
yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what cracked me up was um, they have done every genre.
Yeah.
They're not like a monster or
Hmm.
sci-fi or, I mean, they even had one called the Da Vinci. What is it? Um, I watched this one too today. The Da Vinci Treasures.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
was basically like a model of Da Vinci Code. You
Hmm.
know, and it was actually, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I have a Christmas film from I have a Asylum shelf over here. I have a Christmas film from them that I found from the thrift store, and I can't remember the title of that one, but I have a kids animated film called Troll Land.
Oh
Uh,
wow, I
so
wasn't
that
even
has to
aware
be,
they did that.
thanks to trolls, I'm
Right.
assuming. But I haven't watched either of those yet. Like I said, I watch a lot of their horror movies. But yeah, so like you said, they go all of them. They have a whole faith based film section as well,
Oh,
which
really?
is not my jam, but and a lot of people would like that. So yeah, they run the gamut all over the place.
Huh. I did not know that. Um, Kenny, I'm gonna, and obviously you too, Brandon. I'm gonna share that article that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, please do.
Um, this was on Texas Monthly, August 9th, 2024. It's what's it like to star in a knockoff blockbuster? Just asked the lead of the Twisters, and they interview Kayla Fields, who is one of the stars of the movie, and she was also in The Exorcists, and which stars Doug Bradley from Hellraiser
Yeah.
and DC Down. But what I thought was interesting is in this, she talks about they shoot the movies in 6 days. And
What was
yeah,
it,
a tip, a tip.
10 to 14 hours, right?
Yeah, it says a typical indie might aim to shoot 5 pages a day. On a 6 day film, you've got to be shooting what 15 to 20 pages a day.
Hmm.
So they're talking about script. So instead of shooting 5 pages of script a day like a typical indie film, they're shooting 3 to 4 times that in one day. And she says 15 is a light day. On the Twisters,
Hmm.
we'd show up to set and it'd be like, oh, great, we're shooting 25 pages today. Everybody, let's just get it done. And as you saw, a lot of the Twisters is just us running around and having to get choreography correct. It was wild. There were days that I was like, there's no way we make this. And we did it somehow. But the production team was fantastic and we had a great director. But it says, we had a low budget, obviously, but he was like, we're going to do the best we possibly can, which goes back to what you were saying about the passion and, trying to put in the work and do the best
Hmm.
that you can. And, so it's not all about just
See you, Jim.
see you, Jim. It's not all about just cranking out a movie and not caring about what it is. They are trying to make a good movie in the process. Excuse me. So I don't know. I don't know how they do it. Shoot a movie in 5 to 6 days.
I know that's nuts. I think Jim mentioned Corman earlier. It's very
Mhm.
much the Roger Corman shooting style.
Mhm.
They must have read his book and took it to heart. So, but
Yes.
it's fascinating.
And
Yeah.
what I like about their movies also is they have the same people in their movies. Like,
Yeah.
you get to
Mhm.
know their faces, and
Yep.
if you notice on their IMDb, it'll say actress, and then it'll say camera operator, assistant
Yes.
director, assistant producer. So it's like it's all in house. That's what I like about them. Everything's like in house. Everything's like really like a family kind of thing. Like the Asylum family. And
Hmm.
I like that. And I wish I could get. I know he's one of my because I had twittered him, David Ladd, that we were doing a show the Asylum.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but he never got back to me. So he's actually a Twitter friend. He follows me on Twitter.
Oh, that's awesome.
Or X.
Yeah.
So I had told him that we were doing a show about that. So I would really love to, talk to him. The three of us could get on there and talk to him about it.
Yeah.
Because that would be just amazing to talk to him, to see what a process goes. How far along? Like what I'd like to know is how far along do they know these movies are coming out by Hollywood?
Right.
Because it's like they change their mind like all the time on movies. I mean, how many times that you hear like an actor or an actress drops out, or they don't have the funding anymore, for it, So it's kind of like I'd love to know what their process is, and like, why didn't they ever do like an Ocean's 11, kind of trilogy, of like. There's some of them that would be like really cool to see, that they did like the Ocean's 11. I know they did the Top Gunner and stuff like that, and they do like the a lot of the Jurassic Island, stuff like that. So I just like to see what feeds into their creativity, with that.
They did. I've not seen this one, but they did an Expendables knockoff with an all female cast. Have you seen that one?
We watched it. Yes.
Oh, is that the Asylum?
Sean, that's the one with Vivica A. Fox. Yeah, Mercenaries.
Yeah.
Yes, Mercenaries. Okay.
That is the only Asylum movie I own.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Branden is fantastic.
I definitely one that's on my list. I think I picked that one up not too long ago. But you were talking about I have 92 according to my movie app right now on the Asylum. Many I still need to watch, but
that's
the life
great.
of a collector. That's how it goes.
Awesome.
So
yep. Oh, we know all about that. At least I do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Kenny watches more movies than I do.
Yeah, I have more time. I'm disabled, so I watch movies all day. And then what I'll do is I'll just like say, text Sean and say, "Hey, I watched this."
Yeah.
Put it on your list.
Yeah, because basically that's what I do. It's like I wait, I watch movies and I do reviews for them, and if they're interesting or somewhat, I'll just say, "Hey, Sean, you got to put this on your list," or
Yeah.
It's like I love the Asylum and IFC movies, so it's kind of like a broad area, from that,
Yep.
But
exactly, that's my haul today. I pick up Asylum. I love Asylum. Criterion Collection, my favorite boutique label. Like it's just all over the place. I make no qualms about that. Like I love that I can enjoy both, respectively. So.
But see, you're like me and Sean. You're a movie fan.
Yes.
It's like you're not buying 86 copies of one movie just to say, "Hey, I got an alternate color." You know what I mean? And it's just like I just got this one. I got this from a friend. It has Colin Farrell in it. I've never seen it before. He told me because I had loaned him Isheron's movie. Oh, what the hell? Princess of It, the one that was nominated for an Oscar with Brendan Gleeson. Islands of Inisherin or something like that.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, anyway, he knew because I like Colin Farrell. I had never heard about this, so he said him and his wife like this, and he goes, "You might like this too." So that's basically on my pile. To watch. So.
Yeah, Colin Farrell is somebody that I have slowly realized he sort of snuck up on me as somebody that I don't know how, but he's sort of becoming one of my favorite actors of all time.
Yes.
Just by accident, because I've seen so many movies of his that I really like that movie. Oh yeah, I really like that movie. Oh, he's in that too. I really like that movie.
Yeah, he did one with Russell Crowe. I never even heard of before. Let me just look it up. Because I watched it, I was like, Russell Crowe's, because Sean knows I love Russell Crowe.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's great. So Colin Farrell. The only thing I will not watch Colin Farrell is in Miami Vice, because I think that is basically that was a money grab. I
It's a
just
Michael Mann movie though, so I'm still interested to see it.
okay. I have absolutely no, but going off of Colin Farrell. Colin Farrell takes a lot of different roles. Winter's Tale, that's it. Winter's Tale.
Oh, okay.
With
That's
Russell Crowe,
based off the Shakespeare play, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Bill Shakespeare, but I seen Colin Farrell was in and Russell Crowe, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty good. So, but yeah,
cool.
I like guys that do like diverse things. Like even Russell Crowe has started to do very diverse things. Some not good, Thor, but he at least he tried. You know.
Isn't he in an upcoming horror film that's hitting theaters not too long, or maybe the
Pope's Exorcist he was in.
That's what I was thinking of. I think I
think they're doing a sequel to that called The Exorcist. I think
that's what I'm thinking of. Yes, I didn't realize that was a sequel though.
I don't think they're related. There's two movies with Russell Crowe where he plays an exorcist, but they're not related.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It's just apparently
The Exorcism is what it's called.
Okay.
And sorry, I got distracted. I think I'm getting your weather, Brandon.
Oh, okay. Probably.
So we're getting severe thunderstorm warnings and all sorts of weather warnings, and so I can't see my screen. But the weather is coming.
Yep.
My warning was an exclusive heat warning until the 29th.
Oh,
God. So it's going to be hot until the 29th here.
Yeah, Kenny, you talked about not collecting more than one of the same. I'm falling into that. Some of my favorite movies, like I just purchased on eBay today. I do some reselling on eBay also, so that's how I help fund the collection in that way. So
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I grabbed the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a favorite film of mine. There was an old DVD steelbook that just looked awesome, so I had to have that one. I have that one on 4K because it just came out last year, I think, or earlier this year on 4K. But there are some where I'm falling into that trap of I want this version for this and that version for that.
Brandon, that's fine because Sean will tell you how many different copies of I know he has Star Wars. I have a ton, and I was jealous of your VHS box set of Star Wars too.
That was so cool. I was so happy I learned about that.
Cool. You got to watch that video, Sean, where he because I have the widescreen box of it, but not that one with the hollow foil and stuff like that.
Super
so
cool.
I was so jealous of that. But I have everything of Blues Brothers, Uncle Buck. But there's certain people, on the YouTube that has to have 8 copies of say Furiosa. I'm like, dude, unless that's your favorite movie of all time, you're not. Why do you need so many of them? That's a whole other video.
There are 3 movies that I own multiple copies of. Multiple copies of: Jaws, Star Wars, and Superman the movie.
Yes.
Okay.
Superman,
I'm a child of the 70s. Those movies were essential in making me the movie nut that I am, because those are the movies that fascinated me and captured my imagination as a little kid. So those are the ones that I will pay homage to with my cash anytime I get a chance to get a different version of it. So I've got 2 copies of the 4K of Jaws. I've got 2 copies of the 4K of Superman the movie. I've got the Steelbook set of all the Superman movies, but that's just because I love those movies. It's not because, oh, look, it came out and I had to have it. It's just, I love those movies, but I'm not one of those people that do that for, I don't know.
Yeah. If they want to, that's great. I'm not going to, judge someone based on how they spend their money. That's them.
Oh, exactly. That's on them.
Buy it because keep feeding that physical media. That's fine by me, right?
Yeah,
exactly. As long as it makes more physical media come out, I'm all for it. But
my thing is with that though, instead of getting your 9th copy of Thor: Love and Thunder, why can't you go and buy another a new movie, that just came out? Try something else.
Yeah.
It's, you know, because
Yeah.
hey, you might get that like cheaper, like you might find it at a yard sale one day or something like that.
Mhm.
But I guess it's like the thrill of the hunt for them that they, you know, they have to have it then. But like you
Yeah,
said, it feeds the industry, you know.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
I have no harm in that. I just think it's silly.
Yeah. Yeah, my wife asks me all the time why I buy a lot of movies. Um, you know, like I'll go to Big Lots and buy movies for
Mhm.
$3 or $2 or whatever, movies I've never heard of because I
Yep.
think they look interesting. One, they're cheap, and two, I don't know what they are and I'm interested and they might be good. I found a lot of movies out there that you know,
Hmm.
I really enjoyed that I had no interest, you know, before I saw it sitting on a shelf. And then I watched it and I
Exactly.
really enjoyed it and I recommended it to somebody. My pick of the week, or I think it was last week, was Save Yourselves.
Yes.
Um, and I found that for $1 at a discount drug mart sitting on a shelf as a former rental. I
Nice.
had no idea what it was. Watched it, loved it.
Hmm.
You know, I wouldn't have bought it
Yeah.
if it wasn't cheap. So
Exactly.
And that's my thing with Hamilton Book.
yeah.
I
Hmm.
love
Oh yeah.
Hamilton Book, and it's like for $4 or $5 or like $2.95. Hell, and it comes right to my door. I'm willing to. You know, instead of like riding around the 4 different Salvation Armies and wasting gas money, you know,
Yeah.
Right.
and it comes right to my door. I'm willing to check it out. And you know what? If it doesn't work out and I don't like it, here you go. Pass it along
Hmm.
to a friend, and maybe a friend of theirs might like it. You know, so it's like what's the old Fleetwood Mac the chain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like I'm willing. I mean, because I get like Sean will tell you, I like text him like Hamilton book up, you know, new Hamilton book,
Hmm.
you
Yep.
know. So I'm like, I get excited when that comes out because there's like different movies that I've never even heard of before that I'm willing to try for $3.95 or $4.
Yeah, exactly.
You
And
Absolutely.
know,
you pointed out, Kenny, in one of your videos, always check Tubi because
yeah,
a
Mhm.
lot of those that you see on Hamilton Book, they'll be on Tubi for free. So, definitely worth
Yeah.
checking there too.
yeah. I mean, D loves a Hamilton book too. I'm glad he started going on there. Uh,
Yeah.
to get movies because it's great and they have a lot of diverse stuff. Like I'm not a big boutique guy.
Hmm.
You know, there's like some of them that I would like to get. Like I would have liked to got that Alligator 1 and 2 because I
Oh
Sean
yeah.
turned me on to the Alligator movies. I really enjoyed that. But you know, if I can find it on DVD for cheap instead of paying $20 on 4K or Blu-ray, where I'm only going to watch it maybe once a year,
Hmm.
you
Yep.
know. But I mean, hell, if it comes down to like $5.95 or even $7.95 at Hamilton Buck, I'm on that like white on rice, you know.
Right.
So,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
and plus everybody's got a budget they have to work on too.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm disabled. I get a social security check, so it's like
Yeah.
you got to watch what you get. So it's like that's why it's like Whatnot,
Yeah.
has been a godsend and a terror because
Yeah.
you can just go in there and go, hey, I'm only getting these for 50 cents, but then it's like you got to worry about like shipping and handling and stuff like that, and it's just like by the time you're done, it's like $33 for an hour's work. Good job, Ken.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
That's what kills me about Whatnot is I see one thing I want, but I'm like, I don't want to just buy one because then
oh,
Right.
instead of it being $1, it's $6 with shipping. So it's like I need to know that they have more things I want
roll it
before I
on,
Right.
go.
stack those
So
babies up.
Yep.
exactly.
Stack
Yeah.
time.
I fell into that Whatnot hole for about a month and a half there, and I was able to get out of it, but
No, it's still
I've
going for me.
yeah, I know. I love seeing your hauls, your Whatnot hauls. You always have
I
great
just
things.
love it.
So
I mean, me and Sean got a guy that we go to, Alster
yeah.
Cards,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
he if you write him a list, he'll get them for you.
Yep.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
awesome.
so and I love it, and I know D goes to Alf too, Mr. Irvis is Alf.
Okay.
So I just love it. I mean, listen, there's over 120 people sometimes in that room, so it's like you're not going to like get preferential treatment right away. You got to wait,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
I'll wait to get the prices that he's.
Oh, it looks
Oh,
like D pulled
D's
the plug.
done. Oh,
Pulled the plug.
D. I know
Uh-oh.
I know D also goes to because my next video I have a rant video about eBay. Not one of his guys because I know he's a Go Peachy guy. I did that second sale guy place.
Yeah.
They told me my stuff was delivered and it wasn't. And I
Oh.
called the post office and all that stuff. So they're like, "Well, we can give you 40% off." And I'm like, "Dude, what don't you realize that I didn't get my movies?"
Mhm.
So it took like a week or so, and they finally refunded the movies. I mean, I don't know where the hell the movies are. I don't know where they went. They didn't come to my house. But it's like, we'll give you
Jeez.
40% off. I'm like, I didn't get the movies. It's like, I said to him, I said, if you check your thing, I've been a good buyer from you. And he goes, "Oh, thank you, Mr. Jones. Yeah, I got like, I didn't get the like, the monetary, Dear John letter. I got an actual letter, from them, and they're like, "Oh, we'll refund you right away." It took a week, but it was just like, "We'll give you 40%." I'm like, dude, it wasn't a scratch disc or anything. I didn't get the movies.
Yeah.
I'll shout out Movie Bay. I know I found him thanks to your guys' channel talking about him, and I love watching his hauls. Also, his collection, actor collection or actress collection videos. Another recent discovery for me on YouTube. So he's been great to watch.
I like his movie night videos. Those are
I love those too.
Yeah.
And I like that he's entered into like with family too. So it's like, because I'm just like, I'm not too big with the horror. I'm trying to get into it. Mr. Dan got me into the Hammer horror genre. So I've been watching, and like, especially with Hamilton book, they've had a lot of like Hammer horror movies. Or if I can't find it, they're on YouTube or Tubi.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll watch them on there. But D's a good guy. He's a Philly guy too. He doesn't live too far. From me. So
that's cool.
I don't know any YouTubers from Cleveland that are into movies. If you guys ever run into anybody or know anybody that's in Cleveland, anybody out there, let me know.
Right.
But
I've met he's not a YouTuber, but a subscriber to my channel. I actually met one person out in the wild, and we've become friends. It was so bizarre. I was at Disc Replay, and him and his mom watched my channel. His mom comes. I was like, "Are you Branden?" It's like, "Yeah." And it turns out they watch the channel. So I run into them all the time out and about and everything. And he is always texting me with, "Oh, check out these garage sales or whatnot." So that was pretty cool. But
really awesome.
No other YouTubers that I've met by me, just one subscriber. So I thought that was pretty random and pretty cool. Cause I'm such a small channel, like what are the odds of running into somebody, but just happened. So I thought that was pretty neat.
That's cool. Yeah. I've been on YouTube. This channel I've only been on for 3 years. Okay. 4 years. But I had a channel before that, that I started in 2009. So I've been on for quite a while. But I've never run into anybody that's ever watched my videos other than friends, that know that I watch, that I'm online. But that's cool. That would be pretty neat.
Yeah, it was cool. But I know I feel like we've gotten off on the Asylum. I can talk about another Asylum film if we want.
Yes, that's cool.
Please. Kenny, you were talking David Michael Latt. So at one point, years ago now, probably almost a decade ago, I had it in my head, I want to start at the beginning of the Asylum and watch through at least all of their horror films. And so I went back to 1997 and their first horror film. It's really more of an action horror. And again, this was when they were more just a production company, but it was directed by David Michael Latt, and it's called Killers. And it's a story of this woman who, like, she's with a group of friends. They essentially get locked into this warehouse, and there's a drug deal that's happening with it, and they're trying to get cheap drugs or whatever. But this random character shows up that's almost like a Terminator style character, just unfeeling and like no emotion whatsoever, that's trying to track them all down and kill them. And the woman, have you guys ever seen the horror movie The Descent?
I think so.
In the caves.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
A bunch of women go down in the caves, and
Yeah.
it reminded me a little bit of that because she turns into this ruthless killing machine essentially to try to survive. And it was, again, not a great movie, but it was fascinating to just go back to the start and see where they started. I think they maybe a movie called Belly Fruit, I think also came out in 97. That may have been before this one. But this was right at the start. And so I thought that was really cool. That's another one. There's actually a sequel to that one. I think it came out maybe a year or two later. And I've not yet seen the sequel, but I think they're both on Tubi, if I'm not mistaken.
Nice.
The sequel's on Tubi, at least. The original is actually on Hoopla. It's not on Tubi for some reason. But if you want to go back to the beginning of the Asylum and take a look at, one of their early horror movies, again, more horror action, it's an interesting one called Killers. So one to check out if you're interested.
Yeah, one of my favorites of theirs that they did was a 2010 movie, and this was on. I picked it up on Hamilton Book, but I did watch it on Sci-Fi when it was on, and it was a rip off of the Sherlock Holmes movie, like I'll say a homage to it.
Yeah,
that was better than the second Sherlock Holmes one with Robert Downey Jr. I mean, this one was really good, and I was like, I wonder why they never did a sequel to it. Like they never did like a Game of Shadows or something. But this movie was like really good.
That's a buddy of mine. He cites that as his favorite Asylum film also.
Oh, okay.
I
there
think
you
it's
go.
just Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And yeah, so that's another one that's definitely on my list to check out. And now that you're also recommending it, I definitely have to see that one now.
I mean, it looks great. I mean, it had a good plot and good script, and the actors were really good. Because I was like, oh my god, this is like even better than Game of Shadows. I love both of the Sherlock Holmes movies. Don't get me wrong, but I really had a good time with that. Hey, Mr. Dan.
Hey, Mr. Dan.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that out too because I would love to see what they do. I like when they take like the public domain characters,
yes,
and kind of spin their version of it. Like the one that I'm kind of curious about that I came across while I was doing research for this was Avengers Grimm. Have you seen that, Branden?
No,
I've not seen that one yet. No.
That might be watching after we go off the air tonight. Avengers Grimm. Oh.
Yeah, it's like
there might be that might be a little bit of a series on the Asylum. Check into that though. I think there might be more than one of those Avengers films.
Casper Van Dien is in it, and oh my god, Casper
Lou
Van
Ferrigno?
Dien and Lou Ferrigno.
That's amazing.
Oh man, and Lou Ferrigno plays Iron John. I'm not kidding you. That's his character's name. Oh, this is great. I'll have to.
Yeah, there is. There's Avengers Grimm Time Wars is another one from 2018. I think that's got to be the sequel to Avengers Grimm.
Okay.
Yes.
That's going on the list. That sounds awesome. Looks like it's a mix of like the Grimm fairy tales in there. So that's interesting.
Yeah, that was their takeoff on Infinity War.
Yeah. Very cool.
Oh, this is another one that I did like and I watched, and it is on Tubi. Sinister Squad.
Oh, okay. the Suicide Squad ripoff?
Sinister Squad. I really had fun with that. I really enjoyed that. That was one that I actually seen on the Pluto channel that they run a lot.
Okay.
That one, and it was like a not a Lord of the Rings. It was sort of like a Conan movie. I can't remember it offhand, but I remember seeing it and I watched it because Big Sexy's in a couple of those. That
okay.
Let me look it up.
Yeah, you're talking, Sean, kind of public domain stuff. I guess I don't technically know if War of the Worlds is public domain, but the first of their mockbusters, which I also have here next to me, H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. This is like I said, what we talked about earlier is kind of what kicked off the mockbuster for them. This one, it more so than the Spielberg version and even the original, I would say, sticks more to the story. If you've ever read the book,
I have.
the H.G. Wells book. And so I think that's interesting because of that fact that it does feel a little bit more like the book. Now, it's not perfect, mind you,
Right.
but it does feel a little bit more similar. And I think this one's pretty decent, mostly because of C. Thomas Howell in the lead role.
He directs the sequel.
Does he? Oh, okay. I have that one. I haven't watched the sequel yet, though, so I didn't talk about that one tonight.
They're both very good.
That's awesome. Yeah. But I think he does a great job in this. Essentially, if I'm not mistaken, we're following him trying to get to his wife and child, and so it's more of a solo film because with the Spielberg version, if I'm remembering right, it's Tom Cruise and his daughter trying to get to his wife. It's just a little bit of.
After the kid after the rebellious teen dies.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a little bit of a different setup. But another one that I'd recommend if you haven't seen that one, kind of fits into that using a existing thing already and taking it from there.
Okay. Yeah, I just wrote it. It's on my list now. There's one. I don't know if it is because we got confused on whether a movie was The Asylum or not.
Yeah, that was my fault. Sorry.
No. I'm having the same issue now with a movie that I watched, which was about an airplane, like a jet airliner that got sucked through a time warp, and they got sucked back into World War II.
Oh, I just watched that one. Oh, yeah.
And I can't remember what the name of it was.
I'll go on my letterbox because I just literally watched that last week.
Okay.
I don't know that one. I was thinking Airplane versus Volcano when you were first talking about an airplane.
No.
That's an Asylum one.
And then there's Asteroid versus the Earth with Tia Carrere and Dean Cain.
Okay. Yes.
another great title. Their titles kill me.
And there's another one. There's another one while I'm looking this up with the girl from Clueless. That was San Andreas Quake.
Oh, okay.
The pretty girl from Clueless.
I don't remember if I've seen that one or not.
Oh, that's a fun.
See.
There's San Andreas Megaquake too.
Yeah.
For me, I've seen a number of their disaster films, and though I'm not the biggest fan of those ones, I definitely prefer their horror films to the disaster films. But I definitely see why some might get a kick out of those too.
Yeah, I found it. It's called Flight World War II.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just got it on my
Yeah.
You know what's interesting to me is that Asylum at this point is kind of so well known that when I'm scrolling through Hamilton Book or a similar site, I'll come across, and Asylum has very obvious font with their movies, so you can usually tell. And I'll scroll and I see their font, and I'm like, oh, that's an Asylum film. I'll click on it. It's not. It's just another indie company trying to take advantage of the fact that the Asylum is a known company and people collect those or want those.
Right.
I think that's interesting that they've made it that far.
Yeah, they've almost become a genre of their own. It's not just the mockbuster, it's the Asylum type of film, which is low budget, crappy CGI, kind of past their prime
script.
stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you kind of know what you're going to get, but like we've just had the same thing. Kenny and I were both like, I'm not sure if it's Asylum, but it might be,
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they just announced, I'm on their Twitter feed and their Instagram. They just announced Alien Domicile.
Oh, interesting.
So I don't know. I don't know when it comes out. I checked Amazon to see if it was like available for like purchase or anything like that. But there was nothing. They just announced it on their Instagram.
That's interesting.
Alien Domicile.
It's interesting that they're just announcing it. You'd think because Alien Romulus just came out, you'd think it would be available now.
Usually, Alien Domicile.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up on my phone so you guys can see it.
I hate to interrupt can you guys hear my son screaming in the background?
No.
Mm,
Okay. I hear him upstairs. I just wanted to make sure you couldn't hear him. Okay.
Oh, Alien Rubicon. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
There we
Okay.
go.
Okay, because Alien
They have a
Domicile
number.
was released in 2017.
Okay. Is that Asylum also?
No,
Okay. I
that
know
is
Asylum has a
from-
number of alien insert next word here films. I know they did one for like Alien Origins had a mockbuster. I have it over there. I can't think of the name of it though. And so I don't know if they're all tied together at all or what, but they have a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's also Alien Domicile 2, Lot 24, and there's an Alien Outbreak.
Okay.
None of these appear to be from the Asylum.
and the other one I can't wait. And I told Sean about this. He had to watch that one. Ape
That's kind
versus Mecha Ape.
Oh
yeah.
New World Order. New World Order.
Love it. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, I got to get into those. I've got to see those
Yeah, I haven't seen those yet either. I need to check that series out.
because it's what ape versus monster,
Ape versus Ape,
and then ape versus mecha ape.
Oh man.
and Tom.
So
I know
many.
Tom Arnold's in one of them. I think it's the Ape versus Monster. I think he's in.
Okay.
Yeah, those I have to see because that's just right up my alley.
But see, that's why it's like I might not watch anything else. Like I've been wanting to try to binge the Jodie Foster True Detective series that was on.
Yeah,
But I'll go down a rabbit hole with Tubi, and I'll just go okay. And like when I pulled up, I've been like on a rabbit hole with Mr. Dan since he's got me into the martial arts movies. So I've been trying to watch like a lot of the Jet Li, like Once Upon a Time in China movies, and then he had one on his channel yesterday that I want to watch. So it was like I literally have a book right beside me that I keep that has just like a list of like movies that I want to get through, go through and stuff like that. So it's like, and then I check them off and it's like, oh, okay, I got to get this one. And then when you see it, when something comes on the Instagram, about a new movie or something, it's like, oh, I got to get this one out, too. And they're basically like all like B movies.
Oh,
so,
yeah. My Letterboxd watch list is a treasure trove of crap and classics.
Yeah, exactly. I hear you there. Yeah, that's the other thing I love about the Asylum is like, especially when you talk early 2000s Asylum, there are so many films that always pop up that I'd never even heard of and never knew they were part of the Asylum. Another channel I watch on here, the Horror Punk. He's great too. He just talked about this movie here, Detour, not too long ago.
I didn't know that was an Asylum movie.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't either, but you can see their logo right there on the bottom.
I love the logo.
I had to check it out. I bought it on eBay basically instantly because I knew we were doing this podcast. So I watched this one the other night, and this one is a trip. This is like a mix of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake from 2003 and the Hills Have Eyes remake. So it's very much a creature of that era.
That's tremendous.
Again, not a great film, but it's enjoyable for what it is. Now, this is one I don't know if it's actually, I don't think this one is streaming, if I remember right from looking. I use an app called or a website called justwatch.com. I know, Sean, you mentioned one last week. I forget what it was, but it's similar.
It's Just Watch.
Viewfinder.
Oh, Viewfinder.
No,
that's what I was thinking of.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But yeah, and I don't think this one is streaming, and not necessarily one that I would recommend going out and spending a lot of money on. But if for some reason you stumble across it in a Whatnot stream or at a thrift store, it was pretty fun. This is absolutely a so bad it's good. Some of the acting in this is just hilarious. There is a convenience store, a gas station owner. The dude just goes for it 100%, and it's awesome. It is so much fun to watch. One of our main characters plays kind of, again, this is my era, right? So this is very nostalgic era for me because this is high school time. and he plays just a like a stereotypical like white guy wannabe gangster type, and just the lingo he goes for it again, just really goes. It is so funny. The story itself is just kind of all over the place, but man, it's fun. And you get some blood and you get some nudity in this, which, you know, what's not fun about that exactly.
Right.
And you just get that the girls are all looking like they're, you know, from the mid 2000s, which is just hilarious to look back on. It is so much. It was a lot of fun. I had a much better time with this than most people probably will, but Kenny, Sean, if you guys ever happen to stumble across it, might be worth checking out. Again, not good, not great, but
what
fun.
year is that from?
This is
2003.
yes, exactly, 03.
Yep.
Okay.
It's on my list.
Yep, it's on my list too. I literally just put it on there. Yeah, because usually this is what happens when I watch a YouTube video. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'll always I have a notepad like, you know, right beside me in the kitchen and in the living room, and when I'm watching it, I'll just like, especially with that damn Neil, you know, Neil's movie channel.
Neil's movie channel,
God,
amazing.
I love Neil's,
yeah,
and it's just like, and a lot of the foreign movies, I don't even know what the hell, I can't even spell them, let alone, you know,
Right.
God bless them for pronunciating them, you know. And it's just like, if there's something on there, like especially like with Bryce Y2K basis, and especially with Brian the horror punk, he gets very eclectic stuff. I always tell him this, very different, and a lot of stuff that I've never even heard of before. Like he just picked up trauma movies, trauma.
Yeah, Trauma. Yeah.
The only thing I've ever heard of Trauma before was the guy that melts.
Toxic Avenger.
And we had that when I worked at the video store. I never even heard of these other ones that he's talking about. And Branden had just picked up the box set of the
Class of Nukem High. Yeah.
Class of Nukem High. Yeah. So it's just like, and I'm like, there's always something I'm learning, and especially with like Mr. Dan. You know, he opened up a whole new world, because I used to watch him on Saturdays, you know, but not to be stereotypical, but when they're all like Bruce Lee, and then Dan went through a video, the exploitation, you know, it was Bruce L.I., you know, L-I-L-E-I-L-E-U-I, you know, all this stuff after the poor man passed away. So it was like, I'm thinking, oh, I'm watching a Bruce Lee movie. No, stupid. He only did like 5 like regular movies. You're watching like all the other, you know, Bruce Lee movies.
I
so
didn't realize
like, that.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like you get a good, like, I picked this up because of Mr. Dan. Let me see if I can pick it up. It's the Bruce Lee set.
Okay.
And it's the same exact one. I made sure that I got the same exact one that Dan got. And this is Big Boss, Fist of Fury, Way of the Dragon, Game of Death 1 and 2. And then the only one that's not on here is the biggest one, and Sean had told me about that one, was the Enter the Dragon. And I picked that up for $1 on Whatnot. So it was like, if I didn't like it, I wasn't, you know, I could just give it to a friend, but I wound up loving the damn movie, you know. So it was like
$1 well spent.
It was $1 well, and it was a snapper case, $1 well spent too. So yeah, so it's like you get into these rabbit holes, and like when I'm watching these guys' videos and stuff like that, it was like Neil had one the other day that I hadn't even thought of in like years. Henry and June with Uma Thurman and Fred Ward.
Okay. Yeah, I added that to my list because I have not seen that, but it sounds amazing.
I've seen it when it came out on video. I haven't seen that in 30 years. You know?
Yeah.
So that was like, Henry and June got to find it. You know what I mean? So it was like...
It's the gift that keeps on giving, because I just wrote it down.
Oh, okay.
Right, yeah, so, exactly.
And there was another one that I watched with James Spader and John Cusack that I haven't even thought of in like years.
Okay.
True Colors, 1991. True Colors.
Okay.
James Spader and John Cusack, and I'm like, I haven't even thought about that movie because I remember putting it. Brandon, I used to work at Movies Unlimited back
okay.
in the 90s. And I remember we always had like a new set because we wouldn't get like 80 copies of like, say, like Magnolia. Okay. We'd only get like maybe one or two, but we'd always have like the classic stuff. Like we had Kaiju, which was like the Godzilla. We had that in the section. And then we had like everybody like James Stewart, a Bogart section, all that stuff. And we were popular because we had porn in the back.
So did Family Video. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why we were popular because we were literally. Oh, I'm sorry, Dan. That was Fred Ward. Yeah, it was Fred Ward, wasn't it? Didn't I say Fred Ward?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That was because I think he did that that movie right after Remo Williams. Because I think that was 89. I want to say, because that was a young Uma Thurman too.
Okay, yeah,
really young.
1990.
90. Okay,
pretty darn close. That's good.
Yeah, I always play Birthday Man with that. If I'm within 2 years, I'm pretty good with that. Then
You're right.
Yep. You're good.
it's like a birthday man rule, within 2 years, But yeah, so we didn't get like a lot of like the mainstream movies, so that's why it's like with like a lot of like the older independent movies like that we would get in. And I always, free videos. You're working at a video store, I'll watch anything, So it's really fun.
Yeah.
Oh, this looks really interesting, Kenny.
What's that?
Henry and June. I just wrote it down because you recommended it.
Oh,
now that
okay.
I see what it is, I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. That was, I think, one of the first NC-17 movies because it had to be like, because I remember in Philly it played at we have like art, they call it like art house theaters, and they played that at the Ritz 5. Okay. And I remember, going to the Ritz 5 to actually go see that.
Okay.
In the theater, and there was like a lot of. I think I was like 19 or 20, but there was like people like our age now, young, that were going to see that at the time.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. One thing that I did want to talk about, and we talked about it before we went live, Brandon, is that when you review the Asylum movies, you give them crappy ratings, but you still love them.
Yeah.
And I do the same thing. What is your justification for doing that? I'm very curious about that to see if it's very similar to my own.
Yeah. This is another one. I don't know that I have a great answer. My star ratings, I feel like, are so kind of meaningless really in the grand scheme of things. It's just kind of an instant, what did I think of this? I remember one time I watched a movie. It was so Severin Films has a division called Intervision. That's one of their labels that they have, and they had a film called Sledgehammer. I was writing for a website back in like 2010, and so I got it to review. It is genuinely one of the worst films I've ever seen, at least to that point. And yet I could not stop watching it. I watched it over and over again.
Is that the shot on video one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I watched it over and over again when I was reviewing it, and I didn't know, like, what do I do for a star rating here? I think I gave it like no stars or something very low. And I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter really to me what the star rating is. And so, like I said, I don't have a good answer, I guess. I'm not entirely sure why I do that, but if I can look at a film. Another one I wanted to talk about here was Bell Witch Haunting, right? I think I gave this one like 3 out of 5 stars, yet I still enjoyed it. I still had a good time with it. So why is it not a 3.5 star? Why is it not higher than that? Something like Transmorphers, another one. I had a decent time watching that last night with my wife. I think I gave that one like a 1.5 star on Letterboxd last night when I watched that, because I see the film and subjectively, I know it's not a good film. Right. Yet I'm still having fun with it. So I think I gave it like 1.5, and then I gave it a heart because I still enjoyed my time with it.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I'm talking in circles. I don't really know, but I'm very interested to hear what your thoughts are, and maybe that articulates a little bit better than what I am.
You actually articulated it very well. That's exactly how I feel. Like I would like we were talking about Battle Dogs, and I
Yeah.
said, it aspires to be average.
Mhm.
But for the Asylum, it's really a good movie for them.
Yes.
It's an original film. It's got a good plot. They executed it very well. I think the opening sequence to that movie is fantastic. It kind of peters out towards the end, and
Yeah.
it's not a 5-star production, but it's really good. But I only gave it 2.5 stars. But something like Megalodon is another movie that I think I gave that a 0.5 star or 1 star, because that was a genuinely bad film, but I still enjoyed watching it. But it's a crappy movie. I mean, I'm going to be
Yeah.
honest with you. It's just a crappy movie.
But
But I
would you
still
watch it again?
Megalodon?
Yeah. Would you watch it again?
Probably.
There you
Probably.
go. But
Yeah.
those movies that you say are crappy, and I'm not shitting on you about it,
No.
but it's just the fact that you'd watch them again.
But I would
You
watch
know?
them through the lens of, holy shit, look at that set. Or, you can tell that set is from World War II. That's not a modern battleship that they're on. Or, oh my God, look what they're trying to pass off as modern technology, or, something like that. Because I would take myself out of the trying to digest it as a movie and just watch it as a shit show, which it probably is.
See, my thing with the Asylum is, if you grew like you're too young for this, Brandon, but like I know Mr. Dan and Jim, and especially Andy Sedaris made these terrible movies.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
in the late '80s, like Malibu Express, Hard Ticket to Hawaii, but they were good. And I
Filled
think
with
that's
beautiful women. Also, that doesn't hurt.
yes. Oh,
Oh, yeah.
okay. So you're aware of them. Okay.
Yeah.
Jim really hates Dirty Dancing, by the way.
He saw it
goes
with his
off.
ex.
Wow.
Oh no,
goes
that was
off on
Roadhouse. That was Roadhouse.
Oh my God. That was like full of vengeance on that video he did with that. He goes, "This movie fucking sucks." I was like, wow, Jim. But yeah, getting back to my I kind of compare them to like the Andy Sedaris movies, where these people are like really trying. They did. It's going to be like god awful, but you're in it. But these don't have any nudity or sex in them.
Mhm.
Yeah. They know their audience. They know their audience.
Right.
And
Yep.
they respect their audience because they know what their audience wants, and they deliver. And I respect them for that. And they obviously have found their niche, and they know what they're doing, and they make something that works. And occasionally they'll hit one out of the park, like with Battle Dogs, or with the Sherlock Holmes movie you guys were talking about. And I like to see them succeed and make something that's better than just a mockbuster just to be made to cash in on a trend. So I like to see them make a good movie, and I like to see the performances. You see some hidden gems of a performance buried in some of these movies too. So sorry, my picture keeps freezing. I don't know why. But they're worth watching. But objectively, I can't give them 4 stars and say, you really want to watch a good movie, watch Flight World War II, because it's not. But I enjoyed myself for an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jim just mentioned Empire and Full Moon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's true. Yeah. They were like that. They knew their audiences. I don't know that they were, I don't know. Maybe it was because I was younger then. I always thought they were better maybe than they were, but I don't know. But I guess, yeah, looking back and looking through that lens of now, yeah, I guess you're right, Jim.
Well, I think with Jim's, I'm sorry, Brandon, with Jim's point though, canon movies in the 80s would be sort of like how how, but with a way bigger, budget with
Oh,
it,
yeah.
And did you
Yeah.
watch a lot of that, Kenny and Sean? Did you guys watch a lot of those movies growing up too?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, they
Yeah.
were always available. They were always at
Right.
the video store. I mean, like we talked about this in a prior conversation. It was like whatever had the cool box art at the video
Yes.
store.
Oh, yeah.
You picked up, and that's how I think I watched a movie like on horror movies. The box art on those VHS tapes got you in. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know what the hell Basket Case was when I got it, but it had a cool cover,
Right.
and it was just like, and especially like Reanimator. I didn't know what Reanimator, because there wasn't like the internet back then.
Yeah.
You had Siskel and Ebert on the weekends to tell you, and Siskel and Ebert didn't do Reanimator or Basket Case.
Oh, yeah. And if they did, they automatically gave it 2 thumbs down because
or
trash for them.
they were bashing Three Amigos. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So, but it was like those movies, especially when you're 13, 14 years old. That's why I said with Mr. Dan, I rented all those kung fu movies. Like the Shogi, ones like American Ninja 4, American Ninja.
Yep.
Because they were available. They were, because you didn't have 800 channels like you do now.
Right.
If you were lucky and you lived in a state, you had 35.
Yep.
Sean, is your tornado siren going off right now?
No,
Sean?
that's mine. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, you're fine. I was like, uh-oh.
No, I literally live 2 blocks away from a fire engine place.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
That is the call that there is trouble somewhere in our township.
Okay. I just making sure
I'm
Sean didn't have a
sorry.
tornado ripping through his
I
house.
scared, because Haas's Horror watched the video and he goes, "Are you all right?" Because he even messaged me on my videos. He goes, "Are you okay, man?" Because I heard a siren. No, that's a fire department that's like literally 2 blocks away from me.
Gotcha.
It's
our
not very
severe
welcoming at 3
thunderstorm
o'clock in
warning
the morning.
expired, so we're safe
Oh,
here.
good. Yeah, I have some more here, some more stats
Oh yeah,
here.
please show.
Yeah, sure.
Bell Witch Haunting, another found footage horror film that if you can get past, because this has some very ridiculous CGI on it, very ridiculous. But if you can get past that, I think if you're a found footage fan, this is another one that's worth checking out. It's about the Bell Witch, which is a real legend, I guess, from I think I want to say like Tennessee or something, somewhere south of me, and very decent for a found footage film. Another one in that same genre would be
That one is on Tubi.
Yes, yep. Another one of that same genre is 100 Ghost Street, the return of Richard Speck. So if you guys know anything about true crime, Richard Speck is a pretty infamous spree killer. And the premise with this one is that this like ghost hunting crew, which of course, right, that's pretty typical. It's either they're setting up in their home, like something like this, or they're a ghost hunting crew. And this goes the ghost hunting route. And they set up in the hospital where Speck committed his murders. And that's another one I think does the found footage genre justice. I think they did that one really well. There's one that's like 8213 Gacy. Not good at all. Same idea, but that one I think is significantly lesser than 100 Ghost Street. So if you're choosing between your serial killers, go with Richard Speck over John Gacy. But yeah, definitely another one I wanted to talk about from that found footage genre, which like I said is one of my favorites of the horror genre. So,
Mr. Dan has a question for you. Is the Bell Witch Haunting at least better than the forgettable one with Donald Sutherland?
Oh, I've never even heard of that with Donald Sutherland. I don't know what that one is.
Yeah, I'm not.
Is it called?
With that one either.
Yeah, is it called Bell Witch Haunting? Well, now I'm interested, so I'll have to check that out. But
let's see.
Here's one. This one's clearly I watched this one streaming first because my copy is still sealed. But Hold Your Breath with Katrina Bowden, who, if you guys have seen, I'm going to go to the horror genre still. Tucker and Dale versus Evil. She was in that, and I loved her in that. And so she was in this, but I think this was right around the same time, maybe a little bit before Tucker and Dale. Tucker and Dale's obviously kind of a cult classic, I would say. That's a much more well-known film. But this is one, you guys, I talk about these all the time, but the fake pull quotes on the back
Yes.
where it compares itself to two movies. So this one is a horror classic in the vein of Urban Legend and Final Destination. So it takes on the story of, when you drive past a cemetery, you're supposed to hold your breath. Well,
Yeah.
this group of people, they're, a bunch of college kids, they don't do that. And so they are going out to the woods to have a weekend getaway. And I think it's the stoner of the group ends up not holding his breath, and he gets possessed by someone at the cemetery, and it takes off from there. It's a slasher film from there. And it's another one I think is relatively fun. I've watched this one a couple of times now, and I think this is a pretty good one if you're a fan of that kind of silly horror stuff. And it has Katrina Bowden, who I think is awesome. So another one that I would recommend. And this one, Jared Cohn directs this. That's another very familiar name from Asylum directors, like you're talking about, Kenny. They reuse the same directors a lot. So if you find one you like, you can track down probably a dozen or so that they've done over the years.
That one is also on Tubi, by the way.
There you go. Yes, perfect. One that you recommended, Kenny, or not necessarily recommended it, but you sent it to me to let me know it was on there, was I think it's called Continental Split.
Yes.
A recent one. I think it's a 2024 film. If not 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah. My wife and I watched that the other day, and this is what I'm talking about. Kind of the divide for me when it comes to Asylum with their disaster films. For whatever reason, I find myself more bored with those than I do with some of their other genres. And Continental Split, I gave a low rating, and I didn't really enjoy that one myself. I found it a little bit boring. It's basically, and if you want to talk about this, Kenny, just shut me up.
Oh, but no.
It's basically the story of Twister, but it's done in it's an earthquake essentially that's being done here. But the roles are reversed. Essentially, our Bill Paxton character is a female character in this one, and his Helen Hunt is the male in this one. So they reverse the roles, but it's essentially the same story. Wouldn't you agree with that, Kenny?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what did you think of that one when you watched it?
I didn't like it as much as I thought I was going to.
Yeah.
I mean, I did like it, but it was like, I think they had too much going on with the subplots.
Yes. Very good point. Yes.
It was just like, okay, it's like you got the major thing, and it's like, I don't need the other subplot running,
right,
with it, and it's like,
yeah.
and that didn't even like turn out to be anything,
Exactly.
I'm being kind of hedgy because if people want to see it, I don't want to give too much away. But then,
I hate spoilers. So
so it's like they didn't really pay off on that, on that one.
Yeah. So, Mr. Dan, American Haunting, I've not actually seen that one. That's one that's, I think it's been in my collection for a long time, and one that I've been meaning to see, but I've not seen that one. So I apparently he recommends to skip it, but still one I need to see. Cute little puppy dog. Aw. Not so little puppy dog, but very cute nonetheless.
This is Daisy.
Oh, how sweet.
She's reminding me that she exists.
Right. Oh man. I'll talk about a RoboCop ripoff. This is came out the same year as the RoboCop remake, which for my money is a much better film than people give it credit for. But this is Android Cop with Michael J. White. And another one. This is one that I rented from Family Video when I worked there. You can still see. I ended up buying it from Family Video when I worked there. Still has the sticker on it. And this is on the back here, Terminator and Universal Soldier mashup. But we have our Android Cop, our RoboCop character. Essentially, there's like an outbreak it takes place in the future. There's an outbreak in one of the districts, and so they go there to figure out what's going on. And it's just going to be an action film from there. But another one I thought was pretty well done for what it is. So another one that I would recommend if you are bored one day and want something action related. So
is that Charles Dutton? Is that on there?
Yes, Charles S. Dutton is in this one as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
So
I think Mr. Dan had brought this up before. Michael Jai White's a really good actor. I just don't know. I don't understand why he wasn't bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and he definitely he's what makes this one better than average. I would say is his acting ability. He really pulls the weight of that one.
Yeah, because wasn't he in Sean and Branden? Wasn't he in Soldier with Kurt Russell? Michael Jai White.
Oh, I don't know. I'd
That
have to
is a
look
good
it up.
question.
Because we were because Sean had turned me on to Soldier. If you ever see that, Brandon,
Yeah.
try to find it with Kurt Russell.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
a great one.
That's a great movie. And yeah, and it's like I watched this and it's like I couldn't take my eyes off. Like Kurt Russell's great in that. I mean, he's great in everything, even the Santa Claus
Yeah.
movies he did. You know, but
Mhm.
it's like that guy. He was just like really captivating. You know,
Hmm.
the guy that turned on and I don't want to screw up the
No.
Jason Scott Lee was in
Jason Scott Lee.
Soldier.
That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I thought he was going to be a bigger actor than he was.
Yeah, Michael Jai White was in Spawn.
Yes.
That's it. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I get them confused.
And Jason Scott Lee, I believe, played Bruce Lee in the biopic about Bruce Lee.
Dragon.
Yeah, the Dragon,
Oh,
the Bruce
okay.
Lee story. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is well worth seeing.
I know we're wrapping up here, but Kenny or Sean, have you guys seen the movie called Zombies?
I've heard of it. I have not
I've
seen
heard
it.
of it too. I've never seen it.
You guys will get a kick out of that one. It is essentially a zombie movie, but with zoo animals, and it is just over the top and absolutely ridiculous. I think the reason that one was made, it reminds me of the TV show Zoo from the James Patterson novel. But yeah, it feels like Jurassic Park meets Walking Dead, not dinosaurs, but just that, animals. And the CGI is just so ridiculous. There's an ape in there, which is both CGI in parts and then a person in a costume at parts. Hysterical. Such a fun movie. Another one.
And there's two of them, by the way, Brandon.
I think there's three. There's Zombies 2, and I think Aquarium of the Dead, if I'm not mistaken, I think is the third film in that trilogy.
Oh, is that a sequel? Because I've seen that one.
Okay, yeah, that's what I've read. So take that with a grain of salt, but I believe that is the third film in that trilogy.
Okay. That would make sense, maybe, because it didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Okay.
But yeah, that one was not as enjoyable as some of the Asylum films I've seen.
Okay.
It just felt like they literally just went around in a circle in an aquarium for an hour and a half.
Gotcha.
But
I definitely need to see that sequel though. Okay. Yeah. But definitely a fun one.
All right. Yeah. Well, like you said, we are getting towards the end of the show. This is where we usually do our movie picks for the week. So Kenny, I'm going to throw it over to you to do your your pick of the week.
If I can find it. I'm looking for it. I'm sorry. I believe it was Island of the Dead.
Nope.
No? Oh, okay. The next. Nope. Oh man. I had it all.
You want me to throw it up on the screen and remind you?
Please, I'm sorry. I had it all. There it is. I have to remember what it was.
The Blood Beast Terror.
The Blood Beast Terror. Yes, thank you. See how prepared I am. I was typing those in to make sure they were on Tubi, just to let everybody know. See, we're not really ready. We're not officially.
That's all right. We're not professional.
But this is another. Like I said, Mr. Dan's been a huge influence on me into getting horror, and I want to say this is it might not be a Hammer horror, but it's from the 70s, and it actually looked good. I watched the trailer on it, and it's available on Tubi to watch. I forget who was in it right now because I got distracted by like everything that was going on. So it's like, but yeah, check that one out for this week.
I'm sold.
Thank you. I am sorry, guys. I apologize about that. Oh. Where's my money at right now for that? Lay it down. Good golly, did I snap?
All right. I have got mine. Mine is The Wave, which is it's actually uh, it's a remake of a 1981 after school special from ABC, which I saw when I was in 7th grade. But this is a German remake of it. I believe the German title is Die Welle. Die Welle. I found this on DVD, but it is about a social studies teacher who they have what's called a project week in school, and they have to basically talk about for a whole week. They have to talk about one subject, and he talks about what is it? He's basically talking about totalitarianism, and he shows people how easy it is to basically how somebody can come to power and basically brainwash people. And the students don't believe that that's possible, that it would be impossible for somebody to rise to power that quickly. And he shows them that it's possible. And the students basically become little punks and start doing things in the name of this movement that this teacher starts called The Wave. They start doing all sorts of things because the teacher told them to, because, he's trying to prove this point. It's very interesting. It's very dated, unfortunately, as the movie came out in 2008. So they're talking about like social media, like MySpace and stuff like that. I wish there would be a newer, more updated version of this. This, again, is updating a movie from 1981. So it's a little more recent than that. But it is a really good movie. So check it out. It's The Wave from 1981, 2008. So there you go.
That one sounds. I just learned about the 1981 version. I think it was Neil showed it not too long ago in a hall, and it sounds absolutely fascinating. I did not know there was a remake. So
yeah,
that's really cool. Is that one streaming anywhere? Do you know?
That's a good question. I don't know.
No,
okay.
That's what I was looking up. I couldn't find it.
While you look that up, do you mind if I throw out another?
Yeah, we
recommendation?
were going to ask you if you have anything.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, we always ask the guests, what's your movie recommendation?
Yeah, so I'm going to stick to our theme tonight, right, with the Asylum, one that we haven't talked about yet. Going outside the horror genre, I think you guys would appreciate this one. It's it harkens back to the exploitation films of yesteryear. It's actually a woman in prison film, essentially.
Oh,
yes,
I like
exactly.
Them.
From 2014. And it stars Sarah Malakul Lane, I think is how you say her name. She's beautiful. And it is exactly what you would expect it to be with being a woman in prison film. It's called Jailbait. It's also known as 17 and Life Jailbait, but you can find it as Jailbait on Tubi. So it is a Tubi pick for the week. But this is a movie that I had no expectations going into, and I thought it was surprisingly good for what it is, which again, it's an exploitation film. So keep that in mind going into it. Lots of nudity. Yes, exactly. You said it for me. Yes. But I think she does a good job in this one. There are moments where her acting is a little bit hit or miss, but you're watching this movie for a very obvious reason, and it's not exactly the acting.
Right.
But there's a sleazy warden in this that you hate, things like that. It's exactly what you would expect from a woman in prison film, and one I recommend. Now, the DVD of this, I'm very mad at myself that I didn't pick this up prior, because on eBay, there's only like 3 listings and they're right around $50 for the DVD. Yeah. It's ridiculous. So definitely check this one out on Tubi. It's called Jailbait from 2014. So that'll be my pick this week.
Nice. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. That is a good one I can recommend. That's sort of like in a Savage Streets kind of way of a movie.
Yeah.
That's a good recommendation.
Yeah,
better than mine that I forgot.
That's all right, man.
You're fine. Yours sounds good too, so definitely checking it out.
I think Peter Cushing is in yours.
Oh, Peter Cushing. I didn't want to say Christopher Lee and then
it'd be wrong. Yeah,
smack myself in the head and say, but yeah, I didn't. I watched because I do, believe it or not, I do work when I do this thing, and it's just like I just totally lost my train of thought there because
totally
I was
cool, man.
The other ones.
It happens. The Wave is available on streaming, but unfortunately not for free. It's
Okay.
on Philo, Canopy, Apple TV, and Prime Video. But Apple TV, it's $3.99 to rent, and Prime Video, it's $4.39 to rent. So it is out.
Canopy with a K is
Yeah.
another one that's like Hoopla. You can sign
Yep.
up for that for free through your library. So just like Hoopla, if you have a library card,
Yep.
you can watch it free. So that's cool too.
Exactly. Yep.
Nice.
All right, gentlemen. So we are at the end of the show for another 2 weeks. Thank you very much for coming on the show, Branden.
Yes,
I really
thank you,
appreciate your
Branden,
input. It
so
was
much.
really
thank
good to talk to you.
Having me. It was a great
had a
time.
really- Yeah, really good time, really fun. Kenny, thanks as always.
Thank you, Sean.
And thanks for everybody who dropped into the chat or who was watching and was silent and didn't say anything. And if you're watching on a replay, thanks for watching the show.
God
And
bless you.
we appreciate, as always, everybody who comes back and watches the show. So if you watched, we appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys.
See ya.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, Branden.